Hello, everybody. Welcome on the Lights on Data show. Today, we're going to address how to get started in AI.
And our wonderful guest today is Vini Jaiswal. She is a developer advocate at Databricks, accelerating innovation with the greatest companies around the world. She is a leader and influencer in a global community, working with companies like unicorns, digital natives, and some Fortune 500 across verticals to help advance in the field of data science and AI. She is a part of many initiatives and has won an impressive amount of awards for her valuable contributions. For example, she has been spotlighted as River's top 2021 influencer in big data, data science, and analytics. That's amazing. And she received several awards and recognition for being a customer and partner obsessed by Databricks, as well as the Data Cloud Tech Innovation Award by CTO at Citigroup. Vinny often gets invited to speak at world recognized tech and leadership conferences and guest lectures, including Data Plus AI Summit. She is also part of Women in AI. And all of the above, everyone, are only some of the reasons why she's one of the best persons to ask how to get started in AI, which is our topic for today. Welcome, Vinny. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, today is my wonderful pleasure to actually speak with you. So thank you for being here. Yeah.
We're very happy to have you. And before we go into our topic, I am very curious. I also practice yoga and I saw that you are also passionate about yoga. So can you share a little bit about your practice?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, the reason I practice yoga was due to my mom. She always
Oh,
told me like it keeps you concentrated, and she allowed me to actually explore a lot of yoga techniques and exposure to some of the yoga
love
centers in
mm.
India. And over the time I have tried different forms of yoga, and it definitely keeps mind. Sometimes when life is stressful and we are working in data and AI especially, there is a lot going on. Working on
True,
cutting
so
edge
true.
software, it has allowed me to overcome, like, sometimes you have anxiety, stress, and if you practice yoga, it just is very wonderful feeling when I do yoga practice.
Mind, body, and spirit.
Mind, body, and
That's the only
spirit,
thing
and
George
hungry.
knows, just so you know. But is everyone impressed?
Makes me very knowledgeable.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's the first suggestion for today, everyone. First recommendation, do yoga. And that's wonderful in any field you're working,
And I would
especially.
say stretch yourself and get into AI.
Oh,
So
wow.
let's do
That
that.
was
Yes.
so good. Yes. Vinny, I think this is a topic very interesting for a lot of people. And you've been very successful in this field. And we wanted to ask you about your journey. How did it go? What brought you where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. My journey was mainly I wanted to be a pilot. I was very fascinated about aircraft industry. So I
Amazing.
did my undergrad degree in electronics and communication. And during the studies, I really enjoyed learning about digital communications. I started doing masters in that. But then slowly I attended a lot of events. I talked to a lot of professionals who were a part of big initiatives, and data analytics and business intelligence was getting started by a lot of companies, and even the software vendors like Hadoop, Cloudera, SAS, SAP
Hmm.
software. Those were the softwares which were used in 2010, 2011. So I actually was very fascinated by the use cases that it could solve. So it was not just airline industry, but any vertical you can see the implementation of business intelligence and data analytics. So I did my major in data science, and since then I definitely did internship with Southwest Airlines. I was working in maintenance
Perfect.
quality control, and what I had to do was like a lot of data mining to understand if we missed any maintenance, how do we do quality checks using data in automated fashion. Once my internship was
Yeah.
over, I worked at Citibank, where one of the managers really liked my profile, and I had a very great conversation with him. He wanted to go towards cloud, and he was looking for some of the people who could help him build some applications and set up the cloud. So I joined Citibank in 2013, and after setting up data centers, we started incubation of data science and machine learning. So I migrated my efforts before getting into Center of Excellence for Machine Learning and Data Science. I was doing a lot of work around digitization and cloud strategy, because if you remember, cloud was a big thing in 2013, 2014. So I did a lot of that, and everything I learned or did has been very valuable at Databricks, because at Databricks, when I joined in 2018, I had opportunity to work with a lot of customers, small, medium, large, and across different verticals. Whatever journey I mentioned, it all got connected, because a lot of firms were having similar problems of legacy depth in legacy architecture, and they wanted to modernize their infrastructure, wanted to migrate from Hud to Spark. I saw greater advantages of using Spark over MapReduce at Citibank when we were doing deep learning use cases like fraud detection, for example. Yeah, so that was my journey. I was very tuned with research analysis and work that Databricks was doing. For example, Matej Zaharia, TD, and Michael Amherst. They were all my like gurus, I would say. I would very religiously follow their articles or anything they publish. Even now, if I want to learn something, I will go to Matej Zaharia's lectures or researches that he's doing or working on. Yeah. And that's about my journey. And now I'm a developer advocate, advocating for a lot of open source technologies and data science, like Delta Lake, ML Flow, and other things that we are building in Databricks in incubation. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm so impressed.
You're an inspiration, Vini.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Now, I think we have about 3 types of audiences that I'm noticing based on the comments. And those are those that are just really interested in AI for its benefits and want to understand more use cases and whatnot. But we also have those that want to get into data science and the AI field from the start. They have no prior experience. And also those that are in data science but want to see how they could pass on to the AI field. Do you have any recommendations for the latter? If you're already working in data science, how should you do that jump? Is there a particular project that you recommend, a particular learning path?
Excellent question.
Yeah. Wow. That's a very loaded question. There are a lot of different ways that I see. Just talking even about myself, I wanted to do a lot on machine learning, but I ended up covering a lot of different aspects: business intelligence, data engineering, and setting up the data science tools. So if somebody is already in data science, I think the way I see to upskill themselves is by following trends. There are a lot of people who actually talk about trends. For example, the recent trend I would see, I read a lot of AI news as well. So the trends I would see is AI being used on the edge. Streaming is being used very popularly now, because people don't want to work on data that is 30-day-old, but they want to get intelligence right on the edge in real time. Those are the trends I would see, and I would pivot some of the work I do or projects I do to fit that. So it allows me to not only work on the cutting edge and help the industries that are going towards this space, but it also allows me to upskill. So that's one of the advices I would give. Secondly, a lot of people who are into data engineering or AI, there is a lot of open source projects. So I see this like trend of open source where, it's not tied to a managed vendor. It allows us to do DIY. Like I can install a product and I can with it, play around with it. There are thousands of open source projects, by the way, for data and AI. So I would definitely recommend checking out Git. And there are like a lot of discussions not only on LinkedIn, but we have Stack Overflow. So I would like, for example, PyTorch. There are a lot of startups or new projects that are coming up, which allows with what they are looking for is integrating with PyTorch, because PyTorch has been an amazing project for a lot of deep learning projects and to make AI much more simple, much more like applicable to a lot of industries. There are a lot of new projects that are coming up. So I would advise checking out GitHub repository for all those projects. Even if you check out PyTorch project in GitHub or under the Linux Foundation, you will find what are some of the things that are getting talked about. There are issues tab under the GitHub. So if you follow issues and discussions, you will get to know what are maintenance working on, what are contributors working on. And if you do want to get involved, I highly recommend picking up one of the issues or even just downloading the Slack channel. For example, I work in Data Lake. One of the mediums I use is Slack channel. That's where a lot of people ask about if they have any bugs or issues, or even if they have any ideas, we get involved with them and work to unblock them, or even some of the features that come up. It may take sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year or two, but innovation happens. So I highly recommend doing that. And so this is for the people who do want to get into to upskill themselves within AI and data science field. What else? There are a lot of cloud vendors who are offering certifications. Even Databricks has a lot of certifications around data analytics, machine learning. Spark is widely used. It's no surprise. Yeah, I would highly recommend checking out the libraries and certification paths. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I have another suggestion, if I may. So everyone just follow Vini as well, because she shares a lot of news and resources and career advice, especially on this topic. So she's a wealth of knowledge and a great resource to
Try.
yeah.
Oh, you do an amazing job. I don't know how you can do it all, Vinny.
It definitely
Some
is
people are more
time-consuming.
capable than others.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I wanted to share a fun fact on PyTorch. Not that it's really that important, but it is named because it's based on the Python programming language and then using the Torch library. And I recently learned that it's also built using the scripting language Lua, which I actually found out about it at the beginning of this week.
Wow.
Coincidence.
Yeah, there was a recent announcement about that, George. So they announced one of the libraries or projects. So that's where the name come up as well in the news. I remember that.
Very cool. Susan Walsh, the classification guru, is wondering, what do you love most about AI?
There are a lot of things to love about. And hi, Susan. Love about AI. I think it's very cool because if we look around today, AI has improved lives. It has actually improved a lot of efforts in the industries, for example, sustainability efforts. And AI is now being used for automated cars as well as making just on the edge. And it's like fascinating because this didn't exist before, but it saves a lot of time. Even though we see a lot of AI implementation in US, there are some countries who are still working on great use cases. For example, recently I visited one of the defense centers in India, and they were using AI on the edge on some of their aircrafts to do a lot of like threat detection. And it was fascinating that they were able to use AI in production. So the reason they are able to do that is because now the computation, you can do like a lot of computation faster. So definitely like when Spark came around, it allowed us to run thousands and lots of gigabytes of data very quickly within hours, whereas before it used to take like weeks. Yeah, so there are a lot of things which I like about it. And then one of the other things I would like to add is industries have put a lot of focus on diversity, because before sometimes AI would not work as we wanted to because it has biasness. Not all the factors are counted in, but if you have like diverse perspectives who are building AI technologies, you would understand like, okay, it's not just like one, two different perspectives, but different people have different behaviors. And if we use like multiple diverse perspectives, AI can be better. It can serve humanity better. It can allow us to build more productionized use cases. Because one of the things in survey, I think Gartner or some survey predicted that only 80 to 90% of projects, 10% of projects succeed, whereas 80 to 90% projects fail. So if we do this, if we take a lot of things in consideration, I think AI can have a lot of success rate, and we are just getting started. So there's a massive bright future for AI, I would say.
Absolutely. And as Christine mentioned here, I love the potential that AI offers businesses. And there's definitely a lot of potential out there. And like you said, we need to pay attention that so many things. First of all, we shouldn't do it just because it's, the sexy thing to do, but we need to tie it to a proper business case, include it as part of our business strategy and tie it back to that. And of course, we always need to be mindful of those biases. Just thinking, there's obviously always a bias. And thinking of NLPs, and most of the work and the advancements that have been done there are based on the English language.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned a very good point, George, the business use case. A lot of people, if they don't focus on use case, so whenever I work with customers, the one thing I tell them is focus on use case you are trying to solve. Is it really adding any value? Because if they are focusing on like strategy or business use case side AI, they will have like a lot of success. They will have leaders support as well if they are implementing the solution. So yeah, I 100% agree on that.
So I was also wondering, continue a conversation then on getting into that AI. Are there any other resources that you recommend that people would get into? Any favorite books, any favorite algorithms, other Python libraries?
Yeah, so Python libraries, there are a ton. I also think that recently, because of economic downturn, a lot of people are, or industries or businesses are focused on making it cost effective. Because in experimentation, if you have a NLP project or deep learning project, it ends up costing a lot. If you don't plan according, if you don't have that cost effectiveness in mind, I highly recommend doing that. And for NLP, I think label data use cases are coming up a lot. For example, image-based recognition, focusing on that. And I think one of the things we didn't cover is the new people, how they get into this as well.
Yeah.
One of the things I did when I studied in masters was I would go on camp. It's very cool to be in a competition and be with other people, and if you win, it's amazing, right?
No, participation is the end
Yeah.
goal. Let's put it like
It's the end goal. Yeah. So basically, that's like a massive learning with other people. So I highly recommend checking out those Kaggle competitions and boot camps. Even if some people don't have a master's degree or a formal degree, there are a lot of people I have seen successes who did attend boot camps or some of those courses. Yeah. Oh, and then you did mention about library, George, right? So
Yes.
there are like deep fake libraries because you want to make sure that if my AI model is making any recommendation, is it true? Is it valid? How do you do that? Deep fake libraries as well as ML Flow project. If you want to do end-to-end machine learning at scale, I have seen that ML Flow actually allows you to do model validation, model training, as well as have CI/CD process built in within machine learning. So I would, if you are from software engineering background, a lot of practices that we do in software engineering can be applied to machine learning as well.
I'm surprised, talking about deep fakes, how the video deep fakes, that is, how much easier it is nowadays to build your own and just get into the field. And I also love that AI, machine learning, there's so many applications now that it can combine different passions that you might have as like an artistic passion, let's say, with the data science bit and do something that, you love in both domains.
Can you give an example for this?
Like the deepfakes piece that we were just talking about. Yeah.
So I did work with some of the project owners or startups who are building just that piece. For example, Deep Checks project, who is building that tool to actually identify if out of 7 images or 8, if it can predict the right value of that image, how accurate. Because one of the examples that they shared was how men versus women and how they can get approved for credits, for example, for mortgage. So if the algorithm detected that it's a men and they earn the same amount of money or salary versus women, it had some parameters, and it actually rejected the approval for women and it approved men. So the percentage of loan approval was higher. So that was just one of the examples that was called out in that presentation. So it actually checks all those parameters as well.
So interesting.
That's why
The famous Ravid is here, of course. Thank you, Ravid, for joining us today. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today live. He's wondering if you have maybe your favorite major evolution that you've noticed in the AI space.
Major
If there's
evolution.
something that stands out to you since you've started working in the field.
Yeah. Hi, Ravit, by the way. Good to have you here. Some of the major evolutions I saw in AI is definitely implementing different perspectives, because last year when I attended some of the conferences, bias was one of the things that was talked about a lot. And diversity, as I already shared, is one of the things that has evolved because people are getting hired from diverse backgrounds. Second evolution I see is more on how you can operationalize machine learning, because there are some of the experimentation where where industries put a lot of money into experimentation but they don't succeed. So one of the use cases that I saw evolving is around computer vision, because we do see that there was a massive increase in the number of automated vehicles, EVs. So that was the application of computer vision. During pandemic, I actually saw computer vision being used for increased amount of, because during COVID, industries had to ship the vaccines as fast as they can, and also minimize the food wastage, because a lot of consumer demands and supply was a massive shift during that time. So computer vision was being used in those technologies to improve the efficiency as well as to improve the refrigeration and things that are important to preserve the food and things like that. So yeah, those are some of the cool use cases I have seen evolving.
Very cool.
I love it. Vinny, you mentioned a little bit of how someone can get into AI. Can you expand a little bit on potential career paths?
Yeah,
Maybe including
definitely.
education as well.
Yeah, wow, that's a very good point, Diana. Education, because we do need educators to actually teach those technologies. I recently did a survey on on what are some of the difficult things that we see for AI projects, and there is a skills gap. Even while working with a lot of companies at Databricks, I did see if so. Databricks is built on Scala, and it basically allows users to use 4 different languages: Python, R, Scala, and SQL. Sorry, how can I forget? Yeah, so those 4 languages. But then people who were comfortable with using SQL, they couldn't run whole experimentation on notebooks or things like that. So we wanted to make a UI much simple for audience who are building dashboard and who just want to get up and running, just write some SQL queries. Vendors are actually looking for ways to simplify data and AI for end users. And then what potential other careers are like, it's not just data scientists that can work in AI. We need implementers. We need people who are setting up infrastructure. So they are called data architects or data platform engineers. We want data to be reliable, because if AI is built on unreliable data, it's not going to work, right? We won't see ROI into like wrong data. So we need like good data engineers as well who can set up right pipe,
Absolutely.
because what ends up happening is if we don't have right set of data engineers, or if we don't have right set of collaboration, things don't work out. And whoever is working on your organization on the same data strategy end up costing more, and they just don't align. So it's important to have that collaboration as well, collaborative effort between data engineering, data platform. So there are different names which are called, right, IT infrastructure guys or IT infrastructure as. So those are the things that's just in the technical space. But AI also has to be, you need a maker. So you have data science managers, you have CDO. Before any
Yep.
organization, I think in 2-3 years, I have seen CDO being very important decision makers for the organization strategy. Whereas before, you won't see chief data officer having a seat at the board.
Right.
Now they have.
And now you even
And
have
then,
chief data scientist.
yes, exactly. So those are the parts. And then we also need people who are actually selling the product, who are teaching the product, who are actually consultancies, for example, because one organization may or may not be able to reach to multiple different customers or multiple different users. So you need
Yeah.
those collaborators, consulting in these two. For example, I work with one of many, but one of the ones I would highlight is Yasik. He actually is a big fan of Spark, and he allows us to scale by offering courses in Spark. So that's amazing. So that's one of the career paths. I think I covered a lot of them. We also need customer success engineers. In fact, I was a customer success engineer before. My role was like post sales. So whenever somebody buys a product, I needed to make sure they get ROI or whatever my sales team has promised. I need to deliver on that promise. So you need those type of people as well. You need RSAs, for example, resident solution architects. So if there is a company who wants to build like some use cases that they don't have skill sets for, we need those solutions architects. We need those resident solutions architects who can implement the use cases for bigger companies. So there are different paths that we have in AI, and AI is for everyone.
Said AI is for everyone. In order to learn more, follow Vini on LinkedIn.
That's a great advice. Thank you very much, Vinny, for being here today, for making the time to share all these valuable insights. Thank you very much for everything that you do and all your contribution. Good luck with everything, and we hope to see you
Thank
again
you.
soon.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you all for joining.